Hey guys, what's up? It's Kelsey here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about something I get a lot of questions on, and that's like what fingerboard to buy, specifically what size fingerboard to buy. I know it can probably be pretty overwhelming, a little daunting when you first get into fingerboarding. There's like a lot of options usually between the different widths and lengths of fingerboards, but hopefully if you watch this video you'll get a little bit of a more clear idea of just the differences between widths. Just a little disclaimer, this is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. I know there are a lot of exceptions to different things I'm gonna say, so I'm just speaking in general terms. You might disagree, you might agree. Let's just get to it. There's a few different groups of fingerboard widths. So there's like 29 and lower, 32, 33, and 34 and higher. I know I skipped 30 and 31, but I feel like just generally I don't really see those. But 30 millimeter boards, I would probably group with the 29 millimeters. So let's start there. Personally, I prefer a 33 millimeter board, like maybe 33 and a half millimeters. So I really only have that kind of width. This is the 29 millimeter board that I have. It's a pretty old Berlin wood, probably one of my first fingerboards. But you can just see how thin that is. So that's not super typical to what I would ride, but I know a lot of people like 29s. There's actually this trend about, I wanna say 2 years ago, maybe 3, where everybody just fell in love with 29 millimeters, and that's literally all I was seeing, just a bunch of people riding 29 millimeter boards. But slowly and surely that trend kind of faded out and everybody sort of went back to like 32, 33 millimeter. I've definitely seen a few people that like thinner boards just because they grew up kind of using tech decks, so that's what they're used to. And I mean the old school tech decks, because the new ones are actually like 32 millimeters, I want to say. So the very, very old school tech decks that are super thin, I think they were like 26 or 28 millimeters even. So this is definitely kind of like more of a skateboard shape, I want to say. Skateboards usually aren't as wide, so this is like that. Personally, I don't really find myself wanting or riding 29 millimeter boards because they just don't give me the control that I'm looking for. At least I'm just not used to them. So I feel like I don't have much control over this. They do spin very quickly for flip tricks, and it's kind of difficult to use, in my opinion. So then I would probably group 30 and 31 millimeter boards with the 29, like on the thinner side. I don't really see 31 millimeter boards that often. I think partly the reason is because truck sizes. So in fingerboarding, there are a more limited amount of truck widths. There's a 29 millimeter truck width, I think, and then a 32 and a 34. Generally with truck widths, you want to round down to the nearest one that you can find. So like, for example, I ride 33 millimeter boards, but I have 32 millimeter trucks. They don't make 33 millimeter trucks, but they do make 34 millimeter trucks, but I wouldn't want that overhang on my fingerboard. Hopefully this is making sense. Bunch of jingle, blah, blah, blah. So moving on, 32 and 33 millimeter boards. This is the deck that I usually ride. It's a 33.3 millimeter, I believe. I have my caliper. Every fingerboarder needs a good caliper. So this just measures that. It's just a little bit over 33 millimeters, so about 33 and a half, I would say. I know it kind of sounds ridiculous if you're just getting into fingerboarding, like,
oh, 0.5 millimeters, like 1 millimeter, how is that gonna make much of a difference?
But it really kind of does, at least mentally, I think. So yeah, they do kind of all look the same, but I think you get different feels with different widths. So 32 and 33 millimeter, I kind of put those together. Again, you would want a 32 millimeter truck for either one. As you can see, I took a poll on my Instagram, and a lot of people said they either ride 32, 33, or 34 millimeter. I would say I usually see kind of like the older guys that fingerboard will have like 34 millimeters or more, just because obviously they have bigger hands. My hands are not that big. If there's one takeaway from this video, it's that 32 and 33 millimeter boards are probably where you would want to start, just because, I mean, from a lot of people on Instagram, they told me that they feel like they get more control, and I kind of agree with that. This is a 34 plus deck that I have. Obviously, it's a different shape. It's a stacked deck. That is 36 millimeters right there, and then that's about 35. So you can kind of see that it's a little bit of a larger deck, but it's super fun to ride. I literally love using really wide decks sometimes. Like this shape that stacked makes is super fun. Speaking generally, I think you would want a 34 millimeter or higher deck if your hands are a little bit bigger. It'll give you more control that way. Going in between, like fingerboarding from a 29 millimeter to a 33 to a 35, 36, you have to adjust your kind of flip tricks a little bit. For example, I'm really used to 33 millimeter decks, but when I kickflip on a 33 millimeter deck and land it, I'll over rotate on the 29 millimeter and I'll under rotate on the 35 millimeter. So as long as you kind of know that and adjust to the deck, you really should be able to ride anything you want. For all the beginners out there, I would say start at a 32 millimeter deck. If you feel like you have really small hands, maybe start at a 30 millimeter deck. But when you do start at the 32, 33 mark, you can use your trucks interchangeably with your decks. So it's just kind of something to think about. Touching on the lengths of the fingerboards, which is obviously the longer part of the deck, I would only probably get decks between 94 millimeters and 100 millimeters long. I might be wrong, but I think this is a 96.5 length deck, so somewhere around there. I just feel like that gives me the most control. So just a little something to think about. I would definitely try out different lengths and shapes of decks. Like maybe if you have huge fingers, you could still like a 29 millimeter fingerboard, or if you have tiny hands, then you could still like a 35 millimeter fingerboard. It really depends on you and your preferences, but I think speaking generally, a safe range would be about 32 or 33, maybe 34 millimeters. I hope that helped you guys, and let me know in the comments down below, what width fingerboard do you ride and who makes it and why do you prefer that size? I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. And I'll try to answer some questions down below, so don't forget to leave them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.